Hey, thanks very much for joining me today, Matt. I'm looking forward to talking with today about your initial startup. Maybe you could just introduce yourself for us before we get going.
Sure. My name is Matt Robertie. In the kind of greater Philadelphia area, some of the surrounding counties, and I launched in September of 2017.
So the purpose today is really to get a picture of what your first few months were like as you started your business, and you've had some great success, and we want to be able to learn from that and share it with other new franchisees. So maybe just thinking back to when you first launched, what was your mindset like in those first 3 months in terms of your mental focus? Did you feel prepared before you launched? Did you have a clear plan that you had devised?
From a marketing standpoint, I felt pretty comfortable with it. My background probably helped a little bit with that. I had done some sales prior to getting into the franchise, so um, I know it's that not everyone's background necessarily lends itself to that. So I felt relatively comfortable with the marketing aspect of it and the going out. I was probably a little more nervous actually about doing the actual inspections. So.
And so this next question is maybe a two-part question, thinking about, because a lot of franchisees, they sort of are nervous about the anticipation of when they launch. So
Mhm.
comparing both what you were feeling right before you launched in terms of what your plans were compared to after, you know, before you launched, what were a couple of things you were planning on focusing on? What did you think you had to do right out of the gate?
Yeah. Right out of the gate, I felt like I needed to go out and show my face as much as possible. Was the big thing for me. Again, your initial marketing period, you're really kind of more of a salesman for yourself than anything else, you know. So, and I think a big part of that is going out and at least I felt I would do best with going out and meeting people in person, talking to them, uh, forging somewhat of a relationship, and start that whole process of see me, know me, like me, trust me. I think I'm not sure if I got that in order right, but the idea is, you know, that they see your face, they at least get somewhat of a sense of who you are, that you're not some crazy person who's going to scare their client, and competent, you know, hopefully enough to you know, be a good referral for them.
And so then once you got started thinking about those first couple of weeks, is that where you ended up, putting your attention? Did it sort of come through
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit?
it was. I to be completely honest, I didn't probably make as many phone calls as I should have, but I felt my um, uh, strength and also more something that probably would hopefully yield me better results would be out, you know, being out visiting offices. And obviously you have so many hours in the day, you have to you know, divide your time up as best you can. And I just felt it would be best to try to actually get out and speak to people, meet them face to face, and hopefully go for more quality over quantity, maybe in some cases.
So maybe talk a little bit more specifically about that activity. So a lot of office visits, was it open houses? Like where were you spending your time that was most effective for you?
Yeah, office visits, in open houses. I definitely did open house visits on the weekends. Yeah, I throughout the week, so I mean, it works out pretty well. You can always do the open house visits. You know, mainly they happen on the weekends, so you can set aside your time. Then, and obviously, you're not going to be a lot of offices are not necessarily like officially open on the weekend anyway. So, I end up spending a lot of my week trying to go out and visit offices, and even getting the people at the front desk, you know, to know you and see your face. Um, Depending on the setup of the office, you know, those are the people that obviously can allow some access, or even are the ones that end up scheduling different learning events for the office, and different even social events that the realtors attend. So getting to know those people is just as important. So I just wanted to go out and spend as much time. First of all, getting to know the territory, even though I'm from this area, you know, I don't know where all the just the offices are, and you know, kind of the nuances of that, but also just hopefully getting people to see my face as much as possible.
So it was really driven, you would say your number one focus was really those office visits and getting in there, developing those relationships right in office, was it?
Yeah, because I think a lot of and again, probably based on my background doing sales, it's a lot of it's relationship driven, and you are realtors. A lot of them are very protective, obviously, of their little bubble and who they allow into it, and who they allow to, and they need to trust you essentially. That takes time, and they have to get to know you and get to be comfortable enough to at least hopefully give you a shot, and then you got to deliver on that shot, and then hopefully they keep calling back after that.
Matt, did you do many free inspections in those early days? How did that fit into your
Yeah,
program?
no, I did a lot. As it's a little tough to consider that, and I know from talking to people sometimes they're not always super excited about doing free work, but it's kind of a sacrifice for a longer term payoff. If on top of getting to know the realtors and earning their trust and getting to give you a shot, certainly there are certain um, uh, uh, amount of those realtors that will probably give you a call earlier because you're giving away the free inspection, and they think they're doing something nice for their client and everything else. So, just like everything, it's kind of you're doing a combination of different things to try to throw as big of a rope as you can or net over these realtors, and so it's another tool in the toolbox, and certainly a good opportunity again to get your foot in the door, and then as long as you can do a good job and deliver on it, then hopefully for years to come they keep giving your name out for paid inspections. So it's a little sacrifice in the beginning, but yeah, I think I ended up doing close to 40 free inspections in those first 3 months. And I mean, it's one of those things where even after that, you still, if someone calls and it's I just think you have to do anything you can, even though you might hit that 3 month mark and be like, all right, well, that's it, no more free inspections. Someone calls you and they're willing to give you a shot, but they're like, hey, I have this coupon, you probably want to consider it, because again, you don't necessarily know how much business they do and all the details around them, but it's another person at that point, and trust me, at that point, you're probably you're looking to get any business you can and any opportunity you can. So yeah, it's not fun working for free. Now, the other side of it is, depending on your area, a lot of my area, a lot of people do some additional services which you're getting paid for. So you can still, there are ways to you still make a little bit of income while you're even doing the free inspections.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a lot, and that's a great number. We've actually changed the goal now to get new franchisees to try to hit 40 as their target for free
Yeah.
inspections. Not many do, but that's a great testament to success to get the traction going early that you need to for the long-term success.
Mhm.
So good.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about, how do you make sure you're consistently sticking with the marketing? You had a lot of success. You found your success, for example, in the office visits versus the phone calls. Was it
Mhm.
more about mindset, knowing that, hey, this is where I'm getting successful, I'm going to keep sticking with it? Or was it more a scheduling thing? If I put it in the schedule, I know I'm going to do it. How did you make sure you
Yeah.
stay consistent with the marketing?
I think it was a mindset for me. The scheduling was something that I tried to do, but as you go along, you start to realize that it's a real balancing act. And certainly in this industry, you don't a lot of your appointments are scheduled pretty short notice, so you can always kind of try to set up like how your week's going to look and everything, and that can come crashing right down on Monday if you get a couple phone calls. So it was more of a mindset where I basically you kind of have to, at least for me, I was working on pretty um, short notice as far as when I was going to do things. And I think you just have to try to take any opportunity you can to go out and continue to market, and say, listen, it may not work out. I may be lucky enough that I have an appointment scheduled tomorrow, and then so I can't market them, but then I'll have the afternoon to do it, or whatever the case is. So, yeah, I think I tried having a more strict schedule, but I found it was very difficult to keep. So I just kind of decided at some point, listen, I'm just gonna um, essentially, be flexible with it, and any time I can, I need to be thinking about and planning on when my next time to go out and visit offices is going to be.
So how has your marketing changed today versus when you started? Are you still so totally focused on office visits, or have you added or dropped other parts of the program?
No, I would say most of my marketing now, probably, yeah, still office visits certainly, but in maybe a different sense. I think as you go along and get more established, a goal, especially if you're planning on growing your business, is to do different activities at the real estate offices, like lunch and learns and different educational events that they might have. Now those aren't happening quite as much as they used to be, but that always gives you a little, again, a wider net. So if you can get in there and get scheduled to give perform a lunch and learn class or any kind of other educational class that they have going on, or training or anything like that, it typically will give you an opportunity to get in front of a group of people, and it can vary. I mean, you're never going to have 100 people you're talking to, but a group of people, and it gives you an opportunity to also be in front of them for a while, and not just a short 2 or 3 minute conversation, and they can kind of hopefully get a little better sense of your knowledge and professionalism and personality and all those other things that go into them deciding to refer you to their clients. So I think that's really the goal, not necessarily just going out and saying hi. Up until the pandemic, my wife was every week um, baking chocolate chip cookies, and she'd go out with the kids and drop them off at the offices, and we normally have something we'd leave behind for all the agents, just to kind of stay in front of them. That's changed certainly. So yeah, but it changed a little bit to where she was helping me with that aspect of it, just kind of consistently being in the offices and people knowing us and things like that, and more my focus was to hopefully spend any time that I had on kind of uh, class, more like group sessions at the offices.
We hear from new franchisees all the time that say, or even I guess any franchisee saying, agents aren't in offices anymore. And that's been such a core part of your program. Are the agents there? I mean, obviously with COVID, it's been, I would assume, a lot lighter.
Mm-hmm.
But so for franchisees who say, well, agents just don't go to offices anymore, what would you say to them to that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to prior to my time, but starting just whatever 2.5 years ago. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say that they're in there all the time, but you'll typically find a smattering of agents in the office. So yeah, again, you're not going to have an opportunity necessarily a lot of times, I think, to walk through and introduce yourself to 25 or 50 people, but typically there are at least a couple people. And again, I think if you can get some FaceTime with them and get to talk to them, even if it's just a couple people every time, it makes a big difference. Again, you don't need really to stay somewhat consistently working. You don't need to work with 150 agents. You need a lot less than that typically. So again, I would say shoot for kind of quality over quantity, and I think it's just one of those numbers games where if you keep showing up, eventually you get kind of you get lucky. You never know. I mean, the broker might be standing right there. Someone invites you to a lunch and learn event or something else. So you just got to kind of keep your head down and keep showing up. Essentially, and I think eventually it pays off.
Perfect. Thanks. Talk a bit about goal setting for you. What role did goal setting play for you in keeping your business on track? What kind of goals do you set? How often do you review them?
Well, initially I had a goal that I wanted to get to do. So for my second full year, I wanted to do 400 inspections. So it's kind of a little more long term, broader goal initially. And actually, that was something uh, believe it or not, I put on a post-it note and I put it in my vehicle every day, so I would see it every day. And I think it's a good way to, especially in the beginning, to remind yourself every day of what that goal is, and hopefully that'll help you stay as focused as possible on that goal and do what you need to do to try to get there. You know, keep you moving in the right direction. Um, Now, my goals, I do, you know, yearly goals for, um, you know, number of inspections and things like that. And it's changed a little bit because I have an employee now, so I'm trying to, you know, work that into the equation and figure out how many I want to do compared to how many I want him to do. And but it's a yearly thing for sure. Their review and um, try to, you know, obviously keep up with it throughout the year and see where I am as far as staying on track for those goals. And it can be tough, you know, especially as you get busier to make time for that. But you know, normally I'll try to have a plan in the beginning of the year. Like for instance, actually my employee started last year and he was just finishing his training essentially and ready to go on his own when when the pandemic started. So it kind of changed all our plans. So this year I'm planning on having him do more of a traditional launch like you would, you know, a franchisee would, and go out and market and probably attach some um, you know, some discounts and things, coupons to some of his inspections to start to build up his client base a little bit. But yeah, certainly a yearly goal, and then you know, I obviously monitor that throughout the year and make adjustments as I need to.
Cool. Thanks. If you were to start all over again, is there anything you would do differently?
From a marketing standpoint,
Yeah, marketing or operationally, just when you think back to those first few months and knowing what you know now,
yeah.
would you do anything differently?
Um, Marketing, I don't think so. I probably would have tried to work in more phone calls. You know, um, that would have been a good additional piece to all the different kind of tools that you try to utilize when you first start off. Um, but at that point, I felt like you know, I think part of this too is it's a good idea to start off trying to do everything that's recommended and you know, assess as you go along what seems to be kind of working the best for you and try to maybe hone in more on that as you go along. So that's where probably I felt the office visits and open houses were having the best uh, 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 you know, payback. Um, but the marketing, I felt like I did pretty good. I mean, I think if I look back on it, I think the one place I would have or probably could have been better prepared. So I was pretty early on in the software for 1 point, you know, as far as classes that were trained just on 1 point. So there wasn't, I didn't feel like there was a whole lot like the any ride-alongs and things like that I did were with people that were still using the old software system. Um, so it took me a while to really set up a good reporting template and feel comfortable with like kind of what a report should look like and and uh and you know, um it just looking back on my industry reports now, you evolve just like anything, you kind of evolve as you go along and you improve. But I think I could have started off better than where I was with my with my reports. and part of that, I think I didn't have a whole lot of there wasn't a whole lot of people using the software at the time, so I didn't maybe have as much of an opportunity to kind of sit down and craft a good template and put all that together. So I'm sure for some of my initial reports, I can't imagine a lot of agents were overly impressed by them. So hopefully I did enough on site to give me a call back. But that's probably the one place where I would say I probably could have grown a little faster. If I would have had a more solid report, kind of style and template and set up, so it would have come across a little more polished and professional when they actually got the report. But
I would say, given the number of inspections you've done in the last 2 years, those agents have forgiven you.
yeah. Well, hopefully they've noticed I've improved over the past couple
Gotten
of years.
better. The next question might be, it's kind of a variation of what you just said, really. But what's some advice, one piece of advice or a couple pieces of advice you would give to somebody who's just about to start?
Um, just be persistent. Like we talked about earlier. Even though it seems like there might not be a lot of people in offices, and I think as the complexion of this pandemic changes, hopefully that'll somewhat return, even though it was already certainly different from what it used to be, based on how easy it is for everyone to work remotely, especially for real estate agents. But just persistence with it, and maybe the office visits don't work great, so then maybe you need to focus in on more on the phone calls, on just anything you can do to connect with people and give them a try. So I do have some kind of I don't know if it's just based on their age, but seems to be some younger agents that have given me a call just based on seeing posts through social media and things like that. So that's kind of a new way to reach people, certainly, and get them to notice you. So whether you're 100% comfortable with that or not, I'm not a huge social media person in my personal life, so I kind of have to force myself sometimes for work to continue, kind of regularly do that. But I think it's certainly a good way to reach people and get people to notice you that you might not otherwise have an opportunity to connect with. Um, and it's somewhat of a numbers game at the end of the day. I think the more people you reach, you'll just get a certain percentage that are going to give you a call and give you an opportunity. So the more ways you can kind of reach people and get your name and your face out there, the better. The one thing that I normally, in talking to like potential franchisees when they call, that I'll mention too, is one thing that I felt like I had pretty good success with, that was kind of different from the regular pull it or post kind of playbook, was with the free inspection coupon. So they send you a PDF, and it's just kind of a standard like half page, just kind of generic, just says free inspection coupon. What I did with that was I took it and put it on the lower half of the sheet, and on the upper half I put a little picture of me, a little information about me, a little information about some of the differentiators that we use with Build a Post, like the printing on site and some of those items, and just kind of personalize it a little more, and bought a little heavier type, a little nicer like printer paper, and use those as kind of leave behinds at real estate offices. And again, I would just try to befriend the person at the front desk, and hopefully then they will help you a little bit with distributing those, either whether it's like putting in people's mailboxes, or I had some who were like, oh yeah, let me scan it, I'll email it out to everyone. So I thought that was a helpful additional piece, and again, just kind of personalized it more, as opposed to just the generic like sheet of paper that said free inspection. Had my information on there, and at least a picture of me, so they knew what I looked like, and things like that. So it wasn't as cold and opening as it may have otherwise been.
Yeah, the personalization, that probably goes a long way for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, that's all the questions I had, Matt. Is there anything else you wanted to add, anything that we didn't touch on or you thought would be a good point to raise for new folks, knowing that they're going to be the ones watching this?
No. Again, I mean, it's so like I said in the beginning, I think an important thing to remember is that in the beginning you're kind of a salesperson. So even though that might not be your comfort zone, it's not most people's. But you know, it gets easier with practice, first of all, you know, like a lot of things. But that's what you are. You got to sell yourself in the beginning. You know, it's not like you know, one day you know, you launch your business. It's not a fast food restaurant. People aren't just going to stop in to, you got to go out and find the business. So, just, you know, consistency uh, you know, don't let rejection, you know, deter you, because you're going to get it. You know, you just are. You know, most real estate agents aren't necessarily looking around for a new home inspector. Sometimes you'll catch some that are, you know, and you get lucky with that. So you never know. That's why you got to be persistent with it. But a lot, you know, have a person, so you got to kind of try to work your way in there and get them to give you an opportunity. So it takes work and it takes some time and persistence and so just you got to have kind of a short memory and just you know, start every day, keep your head down, keep doing what you're doing, and eventually it'll work out one way or another. So
That's awesome. That's great advice. And you know, speaking from your experience, I think that's great. That persistence, I think, is so important. And just keep putting the work in, and you get there. You're living
yep.
proof of that for sure. All right. Well, thanks very much, Matt. I appreciate your time today. All the
Thank you.
best in the year ahead and continued success. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
All right. Take care, Matt. Bye bye.